Maybe you have felt heaviness in your pelvic floor. Maybe you felt like there's something, a bulge, a golf ball in your vagina. Or maybe you've heard the word prolapse and your heart sinks a little bit. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what prolapse is to try and help take away some of the fear of this extremely common condition that happens in pregnancy and postpartum. So let's get into it. The official name of prolapse is pelvic organ prolapse. And remember, your pelvic organs are your rectum, where the poop goes, your uterus, where, periods, maybe a baby goes in there, and your bladder. And so these are the organs we're talking about that prolapse into the vagina. If you have a bladder prolapse, that's called a cystocele prolapse. You could have a uterine prolapse, or you could have a rectocele, which has to do with the rectum. So think about it like this. Your vagina, well, let me pull this one out for a second. Uterus, vagina. Your vagina is like a tube, right? And if you have a vaginal birth, it's going to stretch pretty wide. It's a muscle, and baby's going to come out of there. So think of this tube like this, okay? If you have a prolapse, your pelvic organs are pretty much pressed up against the vagina, and the rectum might press into it a little bit, or the bladder might press into it a little bit, or the uterus might press down into it. And you might look in your vagina and see something in there. Does that make sense? I'll show you with these two just to give you kind of a different angle. Of course, now I just took this out of here. Well, it's not going to sit perfectly, but you can see they're like hugging up against each other. And it's not, like I said, it's not sitting perfectly, but you get the idea. So your bladder is right there up against the vagina, and the rectum, it's kind of a mess. The rectum is right behind it. So they're already up against each other. And if things go even a little bit awry, they might start to press into it. And so when you look up into your vagina, you might see something there. And that is essentially the wall of the vagina collapsing a little bit because something is kind of pressing into it, pressing from the back, rectum, pressing from the front, bladder, or pressing down into it, uterus. There are different grades of prolapse. A pelvic health physiotherapist, a pelvic health physical therapist, they have different names. They are the ones that are the experts in this, and they can give you an internal exam. Often they'll have you stand up and cough, and they'll look and see if anything is kind of protruding from your vagina as you cough, because that's putting pressure down, helps them see it. They can really determine if you have a prolapse or not, and to what degree your prolapse is, what grade it is. If you feel something in your pelvic floor, it could be that your pelvic floor is tight, because remember, there's all these muscles here, and it's not just right here, but they're inside too. There's superficial muscles and deep muscles. And the vagina itself is a muscle. And so if the muscles are tight and there's something pressing into it, you're going to feel that more. Like if there were, I don't have a ball or something around me, but just imagine there's a ball in here. Right now, there's nothing. And if I squeeze it, it's flat, right? But if there's, here, I'll put a random tube of chapstick that I found. We'll pretend this is our prolapse. If there's a prolapse and there's something kind of like pressing into it and things squeeze, well, now I feel something. If the muscles are tight, you're more likely to feel your prolapse. Does that make sense? Forgive the poor little illustration, but hopefully that helps a little bit. So if you feel something, it could mean that your pelvic floor is tight and it's kind of squeezing the prolapse. Prolapse can also feel like heaviness in the pelvic floor, especially like after a long day of walking or even not, and where you just feel like, oh, I need to sit down, or like it would feel really good to have an ice pack in my garage right now. And that heaviness could just be that your pelvic floor is tired and is feeling the prolapse even more. Prolapse happens often during pregnancy, not just postpartum. I feel like most pelvic floor issues arise during pregnancy because pregnancy, you have so many hormones and they are relaxing your ligaments and your joints. And also you have a growing baby, which is placing a higher than normal amount of strain and stress on your body. And so whether you have a vaginal birth or a C-section, you are very likely, and I would say just as likely, there's probably research around this, so don't quote me on that. But you're extremely likely to have a prolapse no matter what type of birth you've had, because prolapse happens often during pregnancy. It really, my understanding at least, is that it doesn't really happen during birth. It can happen during postpartum for sure, because your body is still recovering. Your pelvic floor is still rebounding and rebuilding strength, reconnecting, all of that. One of my most trusted pelvic health PTs told me that she thinks, based on her experience, something like 80% of women have a prolapse. Like 80% of women. That is a vast majority. Many don't even realize they have it, which is a good thing. And that's a topic for another day, because it means it's not affecting your life. But my point in sharing that very unofficial statistic is that this is something we all need to know about and understand, right? This is not just like, oh, it might happen. It probably won't. No, like it actually probably will happen to you if you are pregnant, or if you've ever been through pregnancy, or if you're planning on getting pregnant. So this is information you need to know. So now that we've covered what prolapse actually is and you understand how common it is, let's go a little bit deeper and understand exactly why prolapse happens, so that we can try and prevent it from happening at all or getting worse if you already have one. So go watch my How Prolapse Happens video to keep learning.